Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another installment of the Travel and Tourism Podcast, my first season. Seasoners, I am so excited for today's guest. I've been waiting so long for her to come on the show. This is 2 years in the making, people. I had the supreme pleasure of meeting my guest during her first season at Club Med Columbus Isle during the 95-96 winter season. I had such a huge crush on her, and I would constantly flirt with her when she was bartending at the Sea Center bar at Columbus, but she was not feeling my vibe, and I respect that. After 28 long years, I finally found out why this very smart and beautiful person was immune to my quote-unquote so-called charms, and we will talk about that. She is a triathlete. She has run 2 marathons, ran over 100 half marathons. She's a travel and sports fanatic, foodie, golfer, surfer, skier, adventurer. She makes me wonder what the heck I've done with my life. Please help me welcome from Chicago, but now living in Miami, our Miss Brooks, Courtney Brooks. Hey, Courtney, how are you?
Hey, Greg, I'm great. Thanks. How are you?
Good. Sorry for that intro. Didn't mean to lay all that info out on the people all at once, but hey, I'm excited you're here. You know, you have no idea. I'm going to try and contain my enthusiasm here, but I'm very excited right now.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Could you sense that?
Yes, I did, as a matter of
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, let's not give too much away now. I really do want to thank you for being here, for saying yes. I still thought you were playing a practical joke on me, but you know, as we've come to find out, you take things very seriously, right?
Yes, that would be true.
Okay.
I don't say I'm going to do anything that I don't actually follow through with. So
That's right. That's right. All right. Let's see. Where do we start? So I know you bartended through college, you told me. And where did you go to school again?
University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana,
Okay. Got it. Your degree is in?
graphic design.
Okay. So did you have to take a course though as a bartender, or is something you just learned on the job?
No, I pretty much just learned on the job. I started at, my freshman year of college before I was even legal to enter the bars. And just other than what I knew how to make on my own for myself and my friends, I learned as I went.
Now, unless I'm mistaken, in high school, when you were asked what you wanted to do with your life or what kind of career you saw, you said Club Med, right?
Sort of. They asked all of the seniors where we saw ourselves in 10 years. And as a big joke, I said I was going to become a GO at Club Med.
Because you were actually a GM before you were a GO, I believe, at Paradise Island and Eleuthera around the 6th grade. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so it's right there. You got the bug, right?
Yeah, I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. Loved the GOs, met a lot of great kids. It was a good time. And my dad and I usually did one good vacation a year. And so he was a big Club Medder. So he took me to experience not certainly his experiences, but
Yeah. Okay.
you know, the geo experience as much as a kid can learn, have.
Yeah. Now, you told me something very funny, or actually, I laughed. I'm still thinking about is that when you first started working after you got your degree, you came to a realization. Can you tell everyone what that was?
That I had made the wrong career choice.
Okay. Which, mind you, everyone does. Okay. You're not alone, Courtney, believe me. Okay. And then, so what was did that lead you to making an application to Club Med?
So I had moved back to Chicago post university and started my career out of school as a graphic designer. And it was right when all the technology started, and I had extreme difficulty, really just catching on to the technology and maintaining my creativity. So I kind of, evaluated, and I went back to what the big joke was about my potentially seeing myself as a GO. I applied. I don't remember exactly, but if memory serves me right, I believe, and I think this is different from what I told you, that I may have had an in-person interview in Chicago with Kate Ferguson. It kind of started from there.
What did you say that you wanted to do or could do, or were you happy just to get any job?
I had the most experience in bartending from what the options were, so that was what I put out there. So yeah, that was the main focal point.
Okay. Now, unlike most American geos who on this show anyway are almost automatically sent to Sandpiper, you got the Bahamas, right? So I guess you must have been happy about that.
Yes, well, I actually was offered Sandpiper, and my
Okay.
dad
Oh, yeah,
moved to
that's right.
Florida.
That's
My
right.
dad
That's right.
moved to Florida when I graduated from high school, and I quickly declined Sandpiper because I said, why would I move to Club Med and Sandpiper and earn what I could earn in a night bartending? So I politely declined, and then I was offered Copper. And I was like, I'm from Chicago. Like, why do I want to be in the cold and the snow? And they're like, it doesn't usually work like this. We usually, offer you up a village and that's where you go. And I was like, well, and then they offered me Columbus and I was super excited. So that was the ring the bell, jumping up and down. Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, I guess you must have been a really good bartender because you turned down their first two offers, right? So she must be a whiz behind the bar. Okay, all right. Yeah, so you get Columbus Isle, beautiful, beautiful Columbus Isle, and you get there, I think, in October of '95, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and beautiful village, right?
Oh, yeah, spectacular. Probably the best beach of anywhere I've ever been.
Yeah, best beach, best geo rooms. It kind of spoils you because you probably thought they were all like that, right?
Oh,
And then,
absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely. Beautiful village, beautiful beach, beautiful rooms, great food.
Yeah, you got the Cancun one. Excuse me, where's my TV and phone? Hello.
That's
All
for
right.
sure.
So I get there January 96, as land sports. And so I have to go all over the village. I'm working out with Hansel at the Sea Center gym. So I'm there a lot. I come out at the gym and I see you there. I can still picture you, all American girl next door, beautiful. And I'm like, good Lord. Okay. This woman is beautiful. I hit on you, in a kind, nice way. And yeah, you're like, not feeling my vibe. Okay. Now, were you aware I was hitting on you or no?
Yeah, I mean, flirting is pretty obvious,
Okay, it was. Okay. Okay.
No, I mean it wasn't over the top or anything like that. And the funny thing was that I loved the attention and the visits because I was sort of exiled over to the Sunset Bar or this, so it was great to have good people coming to visit me.
Yeah, and
So
I would tell Hansel, okay, Hansel, I know we did chest yesterday, but Courtney's working outside of the bar. We got to do chest again. He's like, what? Okay, whatever. Okay.
yeah, so
So
thank you very much for the
yeah,
compliment, by the
so
way.
yeah, so in our pre-interview, it took 28 years, but we finally found out. And again, we don't have to say the name because I was kind of shocked when you told me that you were seeing someone, and I more than approved because I love this guy. Like we'd work out together. So hats on him for never saying a word, boy. And because back then in certain villages, they didn't really want geo couples, or if you could keep it ultra secret, then they were fine with that. So this was a case of that. And again, I'm not saying I was your type at all, but okay, it makes me feel a little bit better knowing that.
So yes, I did have a boyfriend at the time.
Yes, but yeah, it was kept so on the down, like no one knew. Because, and like I said, I hung out with this guy, we worked out a lot too, and he never said a word, so that's very impressive. Hats
Oh,
off to
thank
that
you.
guy. I liked him a lot, yeah, for sure. When you were at the bar, was there any other service that you wanted to do? Like, were you looking around what other geos were doing, or were you fine there?
No, I mean, I was pretty happy there. I was satisfied. I was comfortable, it gave me the opportunity to kind of do as I wish, throughout the course of the day. I would say that I got to experiment quite a bit as far as drink making. So it was, I had the best view in the house and enjoyed being there. So, I mean, I was always, as you had indicated, very active and athletic and so forth, but there was no sport that I would have been qualified to have participated in as far as, being a GO on the sports team. So it worked out really well for me.
Did you get to scuba dive at all?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was both PADI certified and advanced NAUI certified while I was there. So I had some of the best diving in the world.
Wait a minute. Did you do the advanced NAUI there?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know okay, so was it just because that certain instructor was NAUI? Because I thought Columbus, Iowa was PADI for some reason, but I guess unless the instructor is NAUI qualified, then that's why you have NAUI.
Yeah, unless I'm mixing it up, but I do know that I had one in one, and it was from the instructor.
See any hammerheads?
I did lots of them.
Nice. Good, good. What else did you get up to at Columbus Isle? Your first season there? I mean, I guess it's kind of in a way, yeah, it kind of ruins you for everything else. It's so beautiful. There's all this like 1.2 million in artwork around the village, the beautiful red and yellow, blue pastel color. I mean, it's quite breathtaking, that village, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I mean, those were the days when we worked 7 days a week, 16 hours a day, didn't get much time off, but I tried to enjoy what I could when I could. But, it was interesting because I had the opportunity to meet so many people from so many different places, which we all had the, fortune of being able to do no matter where we were, but especially in Columbus, where it was primarily European GMs. I met some great people. I certainly made some amazing friends while I was there. I have a couple of funny stories that I can share in brief if you'd like. At first and foremost, I would say, I got pretty lucky because I arrived village and I was welcomed with open arms by the Geo team. And within my first week, I had a couple of the Geos that really took me under their wing and said, these are the do's and don't do's as a first seasoner. So I was given some tips, which was a grace of God. It saved me. So that was great. But I would say one of the best stories I could think of was, well, I'm a pretty outgoing person, and I have a similar story but different or down the road. We had a new show. Obviously, it was the beginning of the season, and all of the Geos on stage. It was a all female number, and it was super complicated. And none of us really got it right during rehearsals. And it's showtime, first show. We're up on stage doing this number, and every single one of us on stage froze in our tracks because none of us remembered the number. And we started laughing. And so, of course, that caused the effect of the audience laughing. All the GMs are laughing at us on stage. Now, needless to say, the chef de village was not pleased,
Yeah.
um, but at least everybody had a pretty good laugh out of it. So that was definitely one of my most memorable experiences that I had, especially in my early times.
Excuse me, Courtney. So are you saying even the middle person, like front row, who usually anchors the whole number, froze too, and then no one could follow her? Is that what happened?
Nobody got the number. Like it
Was
was
this like an Aladdin number or something like?
no, I don't even remember what show
Oh,
it
okay,
was. It was one of the numbers that, or one of the shows that the choreographer had specifically created.
okay.
So it was exclusive to her and the village.
Was it Stephanie at the time, or
No,
was
it
it
wasn't.
Sylvia
It was,
Italian?
yes, it was Sylvia.
Okay, yeah. Shout out Sylvia. Okay. Wow. Remember, she's
Yeah.
always saying that. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. I do remember that. And I do recall, to tag along with that is, my here I am, an American backstage. And I'm like, wait a second, where are the changing rooms?
Yeah.
That was a little bit of a shock at first,
Mhm.
having the, open changing rooms for costumes, but it certainly made me very comfortable and confident with myself and my body. So nudity became a non-factor, and I say that in a non-sexual way. So it definitely was very eye-opening.
Yeah, I'll say, yeah, that was one of the smaller backstages I've ever seen. Yeah, for the changing rooms, yes, there was no partition, there was no, yeah, nothing.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say, those were, with the exception of, I had great relationships with, at the time, of course, they were called PS, but the locals. I worked very closely with some great people who I'm sure you probably remember, Ricky, Blossom, Jefferson, and a few others. And I made some amazing friends that I still to this day keep in touch with. And, fortunate enough that those relationships have stood the strength of time. And, here we are today. So
That's great. That's
yeah.
great. Is that after Columbus? So I think you leave May 96. Do you go back to Chicago for a break at all?
Yes, I went back to Chicago. I was like, that was just exhausting. And, it
You
was
meaning me at the Sea Center bar or the whole experience?
no, not
Oh,
you.
okay. Okay.
Not you. You were a positive contribution.
Okay. Thank you.
Um, it was just exhausting and it was a little emotionally draining in some ways. And so I went back to Chicago and I took some freelance graphics design work and I bartended and I actually did pretty well for myself. And then, decided it was time to depart once again. And I had friends that were in Cancun. And so I got in touch with them and ended up going au pair for a few months in
Yes.
Cancun as my next
I think
venture.
you get there August of 96 with Stefan Moena as
Yes,
Chief Village, and here you're a reception geo though, right?
correct.
What's that like?
Well, considering you only had to work 4 hours a day and participate in shows and hang out with the GMs, it was pretty awesome.
Did you?
And there was always somebody else there with me. And of course, I had to walk people to their rooms and so forth. So you got to know some of the GMs, but you were never left alone. So nobody could ever really not be nice. That was a fun experience. And I got to, learn a little bit about how rooming worked and the assignments of the rooms and checking in and checking people out and so forth. So it was good.
Any weird requests from the guests at all, like when you're at reception, or no? Because there are people on the show that like once told a story where they couldn't find the manual for the microwave in the room, and they're like, the
um,
reception geo knew there weren't microwaves. This is
yeah, I was
recently,
just gonna say that there
and
were
turned out it was the safe that she couldn't turn on, like to cook or whatever. So yeah, they all had a laugh. I was just curious if in your time there was anything you recall.
not that I recall
Okay,
specifically.
good. All right, now did
But I
you?
will say this, that
Yes.
when I arrived in Cancun, it was like a scene from a a fashion model magazine. It was the most bizarre experience I had because I got off the bus and everybody, is clapping their hands and doing their thing to welcome the arrivals. And I could not believe how good looking everybody was. It was very odd, in my opinion. But
Courtney, are you talking about the Geo team or the GMs?
yes, I'm talking about the Geo team. I know that
Okay.
Stefan had handpicked his teams.
Okay.
And yeah, like everybody was pretty attractive.
Okay. And you're
Something
like,
that stood out in my mind.
I got to start tanning right now. Okay. Where's the beach?
That was fortunately easy to find.
Yes. Now, did you go out to the clubs there? Like, did they still do the Daddy-O's thing back then, where once a week, I guess they would take the GMs by bus to Daddy-O's, or no?
Yeah, we went pretty much. Then no, 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 no. That was,
Okay.
I think, I mean, we went every once in a while. I mean, it was not like a routine thing. It was like if you could, if you didn't have rehearsal that night and GMs were interested in going, then, you could go. And so we did from time to time. But that was something that was really implemented in my next season in Cancun.
Okay. And I'm sure that this time around you didn't freeze in any of the shows that you had to do, right?
No, I didn't. I didn't
Okay.
have any issues with that.
Okay. Came quite the dancer. Okay.
But we can touch upon that again when we return back to my next stint in Cancun.
Okay. Do you have any other stories or anecdotes from this season, or would you like to move on?
Not just that, it was really, really fun. It was a lot of really great people, some of the staples that, were around for quite some time. And, a couple of the people that I had met in Columbus had been there, like Scott Smith. But other than that, like it was the season when Freddie and Scott and John and JR and Dan all were on the ski team. And so I hung out with them quite a bit. But, other than that, like they were great fun people. It was a great time. So can't complain. I was supposed to leave in like 6 weeks and I ended up staying an extra like month and a half or two.
Did you get out on the water? Did you ski some?
Yes, I did. I had
Oh,
plenty
great.
of time on my hands that
That's
season.
right. Yeah. I think
So
it slowly dawned on us, like, when we were on the sports team, wait a minute, reception, they're awfully tanned, aren't they? Like,
yeah, I got to
how,
dive and I got
yeah,
to ski.
how
So it
come,
was,
how come their laundry's always done? What's going on here?
yep, for sure.
After this season, do you move to Florida?
I did actually. I had gotten into a relationship while I was there as well
Oh no.
in Cancun, but he moved on to another village and I said, I'm, you know, moving to Florida. It was kind of an escape from Chicago at the time. And so I moved to Florida. I actually moved in with my dad, was there temporarily, did a bunch of things. And then I ended up going back and forth from Eleuthera quite a bit while Kenton Smith was chef de village in Eleuthera. And then he kind of said, this is really stupid. Why don't we get you a contract?
And this time, where did they put you?
So I got my contract at Eleuthera
What doing what?
doing boutique.
Okay. Yeah, this is interesting. Bargio, reception, boutique.
Yep.
Okay. So
And
we're
boutique was definitely interesting because the chef de boutique had not shown up for some reason and nobody really knew. So they appointed somebody else, like kind of unexpectedly, who didn't really have much boutique experience, somebody who became a very good friend of mine and is still to this day. But in the ordering from the prior chef de boutique, they had over ordered and we received like 400 boxes of things that we knew we couldn't unpack and put away and sell within the summer season. So it was a little cumbersome, but the bar was really close. So that saved the day.
Did they ever ask you to help out if they were busy
At
at
the
the
bar,
bar? Yeah.
no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
I usually just ask because Wallace was one of the guys who was, from Eleuthera that was, local bar guy. And I was like, I want a Wallace special. So whatever Wallace, made for me is what my drink of the day was.
Okay. Now, no, but now that you're in the boutique, you have to deal with, the odd geo and the blacklist. Do you remember the blacklist?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Okay. You can't have those cigarettes now. Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, that was interesting. I only remember the blacklist by doing this podcast. Someone had brought it up, and I went, "Oh yes, okay."
Yep. I
And
do. I do. You'd get
yeah,
that
yeah,
list and you'd be like, oh, really?
okay,
I guess they spent all of their beads and all of their
yeah.
paychecks, their
It's
beads in a car.
yeah, it's quickly how fast and easy it goes, right? Like
Yep.
one day
Or
you're there and poof. Okay.
or a side note, I know we're not going to get into like deep party conversation here, but
Yes.
we had the habit of instead of buying beers from, the local market, we got cases of Bacardi because it was super inexpensive in comparison. So we probably spent a majority of our
Was
bucks on.
there since I sadly never got the chance to go to Eleuthera, was there like a town nearby you're saying, and that's where you got the cases, or
Yeah, Governor's Harbor. And there was another local who was the bus driver, Bruce. He took people down to the marina. So he was like a back and forth, service, so to speak. And, if he didn't have GMs on board, he'd say, oh, you need to make a pit stop, and we would stop.
I think here I'm supposed to say Bruce. Okay, Springsteen. Okay,
Yep,
okay, okay.
exactly.
All right. And how did you find Kenton Smith? Did he bring energy?
Yeah, he was great. I liked Kenton a lot. He was a Courtney Brooks supporter, so I done that. He was
Team
usually in a
Courtney.
good he was usually in a good mood, so that was good. He was fun. He had a sense of humor. So it was a fun season with him.
Yeah, I think you stayed from December 96 to March 97 at this resort.
No, actually, I went back and forth from December through April, and
Okay.
then he got me a summer contract. So I was there from April until the village closed because they closed for hurricane season in September and October.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yeah, they did. So I was there for the summer season on contract. It was a great season of a lot of great people, a lot of fun. He threw a lot of geo parties, and it was a little bit of a sleepy village, which was okay since it was a family village. So that gave us the opportunity to either party with each other or get a good night's sleep.
Now, since you worked in Cancun and the Bahamas, did you ever personally go through a hurricane at any of the villages?
Not during the season, but
Lucky you.
I did experience in Columbus some big storms, and being at the bar at the Sunset Bar, I had the misfortune or privilege, whichever you want to refer to it as, watching that scuba dock get blown away a couple times.
In 2.5 years there, because that dock is collapsible, so what you're supposed to do, quote unquote, is remove it. So we would walk we would take it in sections and walk it to behind the sea center, right? But yeah, I was there for a hurricane in October of 96, and that was not done, and we lost the dock. But yes, so as the waves go under it, the boards are movable, right? So yes,
Yep.
but that doesn't always happen, or you don't have time. But some of these winter storms come on you fast, right? Like winter in the
Yeah,
Bahamas is you never know what you're going to get.
exactly.
So after Eleuthera, you
Mhm.
go back to Cancun, this
Correct.
time with Kevin Batt is the chief
Hmm.
of village, and you do a position that I had to do my first season, but unlike me, you love this position, scuba gestion, right?
Yes, I did. Winnie was chief of scuba, and it was a really cool scuba team. And a lot of people that I had known from Eleuthera had made their way there for that season. So it was kind of a reunion, plus meeting then, of course, a bunch of new geos and so forth. I will say it was a little bit different being quote unquote in couple, that season versus the first time I was there when it was sort of like fun and games, which ended the season with someone. No, I loved scuba gestion. I thought it was great because it gave me the opportunity to have an outstanding view, get on the boat from time to time, be a part of the sports team and get involved in all of that and still, use my brain a little bit.
All right. So Kevin Batt, Canadian chief,
Yeah.
what'd you think? I guess you had a good time with Kevin. I think most people
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Kevin was fun. He was fun.
what do you have
Yep.
any anecdotes or stories from this time around? I think you mentioned earlier you might.
I would say, let's see, we were talking about the experience on stage my first season at Columbus, and Graham Maxwell was, chief of animation at Cancun that season. And as extroverted as I am and can talk to anybody, anywhere, at any time, I do get stage fright. And I specifically pulled Graham aside and I said, listen, I know that I have to participate in the shows, so I'm not trying to get out of them, but I'm going to ask you please to be sensitive to my stage fright and please minimize, the numbers or the number of shows that I have to participate. And sure enough, he put me in every single show and almost every number. And, I was a little mortified, but I survived. And then, of course, separately from that, Tuesdays were Mexican night and we had to hand out test tubes of tequila. And I think it was really more one for one than anything else because we'd hand out a test tube and we'd shoot a test tube, hand out a test tube and shoot a test tube,
Are you talking about a test tube shot?
a test tube shot. Yes.
Okay. What were they called?
Tequila.
Oh, okay. Oh.
cheap tequila.
Okay.
It was Mexican night.
I
Did you
know.
catch that I
Uh,
prefaced it?
yeah, I remember that. Like usually would start with a shot at the entrance of the restaurant, and then oh boy, tequila. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But
Uh,
no, I mean it was overall it was a good season. It was fun. We got moved a whole bunch of times, so that was a little bit of a hassle. But no, it was a fun season. Yes, those were the days when Kevin did arrange to have the party bus going every Thursday to Daddy-O's. We did have a lot of late night Thursdays. And there were a lot of awesome people there. I mean, I would say, like and some of the staple people, that most people know, right? It was there with, you know, Red and Pirate and Freddie and oh gosh, so many. Winnie, as I had mentioned, Mario. I mean, I could go on and on with the people and the friendships that I had there. So that was a fun. They were all good seasons, and they had their highs and lows. But
like any job,
what's that?
like any job.
Exactly, exactly.
If it's okay with you, I'd like to just divert a little from Club Med, and we're going to go back because you're an interesting and fascinating person. Is that okay?
Sure.
So what did you tell people like your work after Club Med? I think you told me you were kind of like a senior VP at some marketing firms. And can you speak a little bit about like your sales and performance marketing senior executive level? Can you talk about that?
Sure. Well, it took me a while to get into like VP executive levels, but when I left Club Med and I moved formally to Miami, I did start working out of corporate offices at various different resort companies, also located in the Caribbean in sales and marketing. So I did that for several years. I had a few different jobs as managers and directors of sales and marketing. Eventually, I kind of transitioned out of that into digital media, which was when, things went online and there was more of an internet presence, also related to travel and hospitality. And there, yeah, I was at Travel Zoo for a while. And then after 8 years in that role, I took some time off, as a matter of fact, which I had kind of set myself up for that specifically, knowing that I wanted to potentially make a career change and just wanted to travel more, spend more time with my parents, play more golf.
Yeah, excuse me, Courtney. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd like to get into something that you told me I find very fascinating. That you follow, there's a list that comes out every year of the world best restaurants, about 1,080 culinary experts, and there's this voting process, make a list of the top 50. This started in 2002, but you have, in fact, visited some of these number one restaurants. You mind telling people like what countries you went to just to try this restaurant?
sure. I've always been fascinated, like you said, right from the introduction. I've been somebody that is passionate about food, wine, travel, sports, fitness, and my next great adventure. And so I planned, especially because I worked for companies that gave me visibility and exposure to a lot of great travel deals all over the world. I started following the top 50 list, as you had mentioned. So the list would get released, and then I would look at the number one restaurant. It was me and a girlfriend of mine, and we would say, okay, well, when do they start taking reservations for X? So I think the first one we did together was Noma in Copenhagen. And it was interesting because in brief and summary, it was like we open reservations for November on September 10th at 10 a.m. local time. So I set my alarm for like 2:45 in the morning and had my laptop ready and had my phone ready. And literally the reservations became unavailable for the entire month within like minutes. It was like concert tickets selling out. So fast forward, I was eventually able to get reservations and we went with some friends of ours who lived in the UK. So that was one. Also went to El Salar de Can Roca in Girona, Spain. Went to Mugaritz in San Sebastian, Spain. I've been to Osteria Francescana, which is Massimo Bottura's restaurant in Modena, Italy. Done a few domestically in the US as well. So, always
So,
searching for my next great adventure with great food and wine and whatever else comes with it.
okay, I find this fascinating because, I won't go 5 minutes out of my way to go eat. So was it really, so the experience, obviously it was worth it, but was there any particular restaurant or meal that stood out? Like, could you definitely say, yes, this is why it's number one?
I think they all stood out for different reasons. So the thing with Noma, for example, was they had a huge coursing menu. So they had 16 courses that they served, very small. They had very specific themes. So they were not only seasonal, but it was all based on whatever they foraged from the forests and grew and whatnot. So we had some strange items on our menus, like fire roasted ants on beef tartare or on asparagus. They made dishes with moss, a few other things. So it was definitely, very interesting. The food was, spectacular, but I would say that was much more experiential than anything else. And all the other ones that I went to, the food was just spectacular, like off the charts. And I don't think that, certain things not everybody loves, but there was nothing that I could complain about that I didn't say, wow, that was fantastic.
Did it ever come about that the staff knew you came from so far to go there, or was that just common? Like there were just people all around the world, like you were doing, going online, trying to get reservations. Was this a common thing?
Actually, all those restaurants do their research about people before they come. So, for example, when we walked in the door at Noma, we walked in and they're like, "Well, hello, Miss Brooks. Hello, Miss Shu. Hello."
Really?
Yeah, they knew exactly who we were. So, I mean, that was still, in the times of social
So
media.
so so it really is like season two in The Bear. Do you watch The Bear?
I did. I
That
did.
restaurant that he goes to work
Yeah.
at. So it's really like that. Okay.
Yes, it is really like that. They do their research and they know who you are. And, of course, they ask you in advance if you have any, food allergens or anything like that. But yeah, they do their research. They know who you are. It's really cool and awesome and bizarre, but it's great because they knew that I was the one that made the reservation and that was coming from the States and they knew where I was from and the reservation was under my name. So, they had done most of their research on me, but it was really cool.
Okay. Sorry for jumping around, but I have to
No,
ask.
that's great.
I have to ask what possesses someone to run over 100 half marathons when I complain about just running one or two. Like, why would anyone do this?
Well, let me figure out how to best summarize this for you. So, times change, our bodies adjust, things don't stay the way they always were. And so there was a period of time where I had to put on a few pounds and couldn't figure out what to do about it because I wasn't a huge gym rat. And I went to these boot camps, and both of the people who were the trainers at the boot camp were like, "Oh, you should run," because they were like both triathletes and marathoners and stuff. "You should take up running." And I was like, "Pfft, running." I'm like, I ran when I was in high school sports because you had to, right? I finally signed up for a race, and then with a girlfriend. We signed up for a half, and then another girlfriend said, "Hey, do you want to sign up for a half in Santa Barbara?" And I was like, "Okay." And I hadn't done the first one yet. And then I signed up for another one. And then I started realizing that just getting those races on the calendar and having the commitment, not so much about the training, but like the routine and like how you prepare for it. And plus, it allowed me to eat whatever I wanted day before and day of the race. Since I love food so much, it makes it easier. But as time progressed, besides just, the finishing and the adrenaline rush and the medal, it also came down to every time I was going out for long runs, I was hating my long runs. I was like, I don't want to go out for a 10-mile run. I'd rather sign up for a half marathon. So, you know, obviously you have to do long runs to train for halves. So I would do a couple of those. And then the rest of the season, I was kind of set up and would just keep signing up for halves because then I didn't have to go for a Saturday long run.
Amazing. Okay. This is amazing. All right. Let's go back, swing back to Club Med. Let's switch some gears. I'm curious from the resorts you worked at, like who you enjoyed working with. Was there anyone that you met that you clicked with? You just enjoyed working with? Do you have any shout outs for me?
Oh my God. I mean, there were so many. I mean, some people were probably they had only done one season or they had done a couple seasons, but then weren't in the mix during, the times where a lot of the people that we know so well were around, but I made great connections my first season. I kind of had to bond with my fellow North Americans. But, of course, you had your staple of Scott Smith was there and Hansel was there, Mario Morissetti, some girlfriends that I really got close to, Sylvia, Debbie, Tanya, who I don't know if you might know Tanya because she
Yes.
did.
Yep. Tanya. Yep. That's
Yeah,
right. Yep.
that's right. Well, you probably know. Well, no, you wouldn't have known Sylvia and Debbie because they weren't there when you were there.
Oh, Sylvia
So,
was, she was doing bike riding, wasn't she? Or,
yeah, she was.
yep. Yep. No, no, no.
Okay.
I
Okay.
remember.
Apollo or Mark Essman. And of course, like I had mentioned, a lot of the locals there for Columbus. And then, going into Cancun, whether it be first or second season, like I said, the Freddies, the Pirates, the Reds, the Piers, the Salvatore, and Bettina, and all of my chief of villages were, pretty cool for the most part. There's so many names to mention. Like I said, I loved working with Winnie, and he had a great scuba team. And some people I stay in closer touch with than others, but you know, just in general, I mean, Eleuthera, Adrian and Terry and Laurel and Mariana and Dan Biddle and Bama, may he rest in peace. And one good story, GA was there when I was there, Joe Moore was there, and I did have a quick story to share regarding my Eleuthera experience. I actually ended up with a severe kidney infection, and Joe Moore took me by airlift to the Nassau hospital. So shout out to Joe. Rafael Baez, who's now back in Columbus, interestingly enough. Yeah, there's just so many people I could mention, and I don't want to leave anybody out. You, of course, we've talked over the years and at the reunions and so forth, and in touch by Facebook, and people touched me, and I think that that's probably the one thing that I appreciate most about my Club Med experience was both GOs and GMs that from all over the world and knowing people from everywhere and the connections you make, and just it's unique being exposed to different people of different cultures, and feeling like, oh, I could go anywhere in the world and I probably know somebody. So many people, and I'd be remiss if I you know listed more people and left other people out that were meaningful and significant. I will also definitely give a shout out to Daniel at the bar in Cancun.
That's
But
right. Yeah, you have to. Okay.
right. But yeah, no, it was, for the most part, it was a great experience.
And even though you've traveled extensively since you left Club Med, is there anything you miss about it?
I would just say the friendships and the people.
Yeah, because all your friends were there in that one place, right? It was, you had easy access to them. Everyone was just
Yeah,
there, right? Yeah.
for sure. I mean, I live in Miami, so it's semi-tropical. So I have a beach, even though you can't compare the beaches in South Florida to the ones in Columbus or Eleuthera or Cancun. I mean, and it's interesting to say, what do I miss? Yeah, it's really the camaraderie more than anything else. Maybe the free booze, but
Well, free
but
for you. You were a bartender. Okay.
right.
My charms never worked on any bartender. Okay.
Hey now,
They're like, I'm
I'm sure
going to charge you triple, Greg.
I'm
What?
I'm sure you had a few freebies for me.
Yes, yes, but I
You
didn't
can't
want to.
fire me now,
I didn't
so
want to
I
call
can
you out
say
like that, but yeah. Okay.
it.
Nice. Okay, Courtney. I just have a question about the word magical. So and all the seasons that you've done, was there one resort that you worked out that slightly stood out above all the others? I mean, you probably liked them all, but was there one that you would use the word magical for?
Well, I definitely had a lot of great experiences and love for each of the villages I was at, but I would say that my first shorter stint at Cancun was more magical. In summary, I had gone through a family disaster trauma and escaped to go to Cancun. And everything about being there just was so amazing because it helped me to get into a better state of mind. And I had just so much fun. And like I said, I met some amazing people who have continued to be a part of my life ever since. And I was treated really well there. So I would say that while each one had its unique, great, positive experience, that was probably the one that topped.
And I'm just curious, like if you were like me when you went to Cancun. So I went to Cancun 2004 and I was like, that's it, Cancun. I am not getting a girlfriend. I'm remaining single. And then boom, all of a sudden I had a girlfriend. So you and I kind of had that same experience, right? Like we fell into a relationship almost immediately upon arrival. Okay. So
Well, I wouldn't say mine was immediately upon arrival. I stuck with
mine
the
kind of
I'm
was.
being
Mine kind of
single
was. Yeah.
for,
Okay. Okay. All right. So yeah,
and
you were
then
smarter than me, right? I mean,
yeah,
no
and then
regrets
the really
whatsoever. Okay.
yeah,
No regrets, but yeah,
no regrets.
I kind of did it backwards. Like I'd always have a girlfriend in the singles, and like my almost my entire time, my 2.5 years at Columbus, I was single. Almost except for the very end, the last season. But I would do the opposite. Then I'd go to Playa and immediately get a girlfriend, because that's what you do, right? You get a couple at a singles resort. Greg.
Probably not the wisest choice, but if it made you happy at the time, that's
It
what
did.
matters.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, zero regrets. Zero regrets. But tell me, is there anything that, I mean, looking at your career here, are you glad that you took the plunge, that you applied?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I think that so many people go to Club Med for different reasons. And, for me, it was kind of like, okay, I knew I needed to make some sort of transition. I knew it was going to be a permanent thing. And while, as I had said before, I'm pretty extroverted and will talk to anybody at any time, I think that it allowed me to really expand my horizons in so many ways and throughout the course of my career. And as you had mentioned, before leading into more executive roles, being able to fit into any culture, have team members or clients in other parts of the world, it definitely opened my eyes to that quite a bit. So it definitely gave me that visibility and exposure. And like I said, I'm grateful. Like I've gone to different countries. I went to Italy and I stayed with Bettina and Salvo, and I having the opportunity to know people and understand people from other parts of the world. I think even if you grow up in a big city like I did in Chicago, that the cultural intake was pretty outstanding.
Excellent. Okay, Courtney, we're coming nearing the end of our time, but before we end up here, is there anything I forgot to ask you?
No, I just want to highlight that, with all the friends that I made and all the influences of the people that I met, that there's so many. So I definitely missed a number of people, but all of the people that I connected with and have stayed connected with, whether it's, through the reunions, I never worked with Boone or Susan, like they're buds, and Megan and Stephanie and Jamie, and I'd never worked with Brian or some other people, but I've got the opportunity to spend with Steve Riley, just tons of people. I would miss so many people, so I just want to shout out to all of my fellow XGOs that I either worked with or met at reunions or had a positive influence, and say thank you for making my experience what it was.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Courtney, for coming on. And like I said at the beginning, I could be happier to to have you on. When I reached out to you, I was already prepped for the no. But you totally surprised me and I could believe it. So yeah, that made me so happy that you agreed to come on and share your story with us here today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, and I'm glad it made you happy.
Oh, it does. It does. You always did. I mean,
Thank
come on.
you. Thank you so much.
Well, everyone, I hope
All
you
right.
enjoyed this episode with Courtney. So all you 90s Geos, you're going to love it. And I'm going to let you say goodbye. Okay, Courtney, to everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much, Greg. This was really fun. And again, thanks to all of you out there for making my Club Med experience worthwhile.
All right. We'll see you all next week, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.